For 10 years, you've been there, supporting our work in Palestine. And together, we have changed the lives of thousands. With your help, we've supported 9 hospitals. At Al Shifa Hospital, we're providing an intensive care unit, equipment, X-ray machines, and medication to ensure that the emergency department and surgeries operate effectively and efficiently. We've improved the neonatal services with training and equipment like ICU monitors and transport incubators. We're helping to transform children's lives. At the Artificial Limb Center, we've provided hundreds of children with prosthetics. We offer post-traumatic therapy for children living under the daily threat of violence. Our social safety net programs focus on alleviating poverty by providing employment opportunities to help communities flourish and restore dignity. We're even providing power by building solar panels in schools across Gaza. You have had an impact on the lives of many, but there's still more work to be done. We still need your help to move forward. Together, let us continue to rebuild Gaza.
أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون.
This Ramadan, everything has changed. And for those caught in conflict and poverty, conditions are now unimaginable. Without the proper support, they are left struggling to survive. Alone, the world feels a bit darker. This Ramadan, we can make a difference together. In the darkness, here's a God shines bright. Help us protect and bring relief to nearly 1 million people and spread the blessing of Ramadan everywhere. Every life deserves a chance. Save a life this Ramadan.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasul Kareem. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome to this online event, this virtual gathering where, alhamdulillah, we are so blessed that we live in a time and an age where even with the lockdown, even though our public events and our gatherings have had to be cancelled, we can still come together, we can still benefit from learning from each other, from our esteemed scholars and our guests. And also we can still come together and benefit those that need our help the most. But before we get into tonight's program, I'm going to begin the way we begin all of our events. And if you've come to any of the events hosted by Islamic Relief Canada in the past, you'll know that we don't begin anything without praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and without reciting His words from the Holy Quran. So to do that, I'm going to ask Brother Suhaib Zubairi, who's one of the members of the team at Islamic Relief Canada, to recite a few verses from the Holy Quran, inshallah, to bless this virtual gathering, and inshallah we'll begin.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث.
Jazakallah khair, Suhaib. That was a beautiful recitation and the perfect way to begin tonight's program. Alhamdulillah. The appeal tonight, and you're going to hear it throughout the night because, subhanAllah, we are in those final blessed days of Ramadan. We are in those final 10 nights. And in these final 10 nights of Ramadan, we need to do as much as we can to try to earn our place with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and look for those blessings that are available to us in this month. And you can do that tonight by providing a family with food, a family with enough food to last them for an entire month, subhanAllah, so that they can cook for themselves and that they can eat with dignity, even in a crisis like this. And the best part is you can do it from the comfort of your home. You can visit the link that's on the banner below, or you can call the number that's on the screen as well and make a donation with the team at Islamic Relief Canada. And if you donate just $100, that will be enough to provide an entire family with enough food for at least a month. And I say at least because many of these families don't know where their next meal is going to come from, which means they ration and they make that food last even longer. So that is the theme of tonight. Learning from the lessons of Malcolm X, taking inspiration from our amazing guest speaker tonight, Shaykh Omar Suleiman, and turning all of that into action to stand in solidarity with our brothers and our sisters in Palestine and ensuring that even in this crisis, they don't go hungry and they are not left without anyone to support them, inshallah. Before we go into our keynote speech for tonight, we're going to hear first from the Jerusalem Community Services of Ontario, who've been long-term supporters of Islamic Relief Canada, alhamdulillah, in all of our endeavors. And tonight, they're going to share a few words with us about the situation and also the work that they're doing. So let's hear from them, and then I'll be back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. Ramadan Kareem wa kullu aam wa antum bi khair. This Ramadan has brought a lot of challenge with it, but it also opened a lot of doors of mercy from Allah. May Allah accept your good deed and give you barakah in all what you did. Ameen. When Jerusalem Community Service of Ontario was established 20 years ago, it has a very simple conviction. Palestinian cause will not go away, and the need for us as a community to get together and be united was enormous, and we needed to do something to keep our family connected. Our mission is to provide community services to the people of Palestinian heritage and to promote deeply rooted Palestinian culture while actively participating in the social fabric of the Canadian society consistent with Islamic value as a way of life. We run a program to keep our family connected, to create an environment for our kids to find friendship and companionship. We also extend a helping hand in the time of need for our families. May Allah makes us from those who are actually in the service of others. The Prophet ﷺ, there is a hadith عن عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أحب الناس إلى الله أنفعهم للناس وأحب الأعمال إلى الله سرور تدخله على مسلم أو تكشف عنه كربة أو تقضي عنه دينا أو تطرد عنه جوعا ولأن أمشي مع أخي المسلم في حاجة أحب إلي من أن أعتكف في هذا المسجد شهرا. The Prophet ﷺ said that the most beloved person to Allah is the most beneficial to the people, and the most beloved good deed to Allah is happiness that you bring to your Muslim brother, or تكشف عنه كربة, calamity that you remove away from your brother or sister, أو تقضي عنه دينا, you pay his debt, أو تطرد عنه جوعا, or you push your hunger. And if it is for me, it's better for me if I spend time doing something good for a Muslim brother or sister is better than praying for a month. This is where our relation with Islamic Relief Canada has been accomplished for almost 10 years now. We encourage our community in the past, and we still continue to encourage our community to donate. Alhamdulillah, we were able over the years to encourage our community to donate for whether it's the solar power for hospitals in Gaza, orphan sponsorship, zakat al-fitr, general sadaqah. In many occasions, alhamdulillah, we joined hand, and we were able to allow them to perform what they're good at. They make a positive impact on the ground. They deliver services, food, to cover the needs of our Palestinian community in Palestine. Alhamdulillah, GSO, or Jerusalem Community Service of Ontario, have full trust in execution of Islamic Relief Canada. I personally have met some of their management team, Dr. Abdel Men'im, in their head office in Toronto, or whether working with Suhaib and Yazan here locally in Ottawa. Over the years, alhamdulillah, we find them a very efficient organization in terms of aid delivery on the ground. We encourage you, brothers and sisters, to donate. Please use the link below. Push the link below, or you can use by your credit card, or you can actually call the number appearing on the screen to donate. May Allah accept from all of us in this plus month of Ramadan. Jazakumullahu khairan wa kullu aam wa antum bikhair.
Alhamdulillah, we are so blessed to have so many great community organizations supporting our efforts here at Islamic Relief Canada, and of course, ultimately the work that we're doing to serve those in need around the world. And tonight, it's no different. Alhamdulillah, they've come out to support us once again, and hopefully sharing the message that we have tonight of standing in solidarity with the people of Palestine. And we're doing that tonight by providing families in Palestine with food for an entire month. And again, as a reminder, it costs just $100 to provide a family with enough food for an entire month. And you can donate that food parcel, and you can give as much as you have the ability to give, inshallah, by visiting the link, which is islamicrelief.ca/4Palestine. That's islamicrelief.ca/4Palestine. And you can go there while you're watching the video and make that donation, inshallah. And know that from the comfort of your home, you're reaching out to your brothers and sisters in Palestine and ensuring that they don't go hungry tonight. So please do that when you get a moment. While we now prepare for the main event, which is our keynote speech from our beloved Shaykh Omar Suleiman, who of course needs no introduction. But we, alhamdulillah, have been so fortunate to be working with Shaykh Omar, and he toured with Islamic Relief Canada just a few months back now. It actually feels like a lot longer than it has been because of the lockdown that we're currently going through. But it was a few months back, and at that time we were looking at supporting the people of Syria. And some of the amazing words that he shared with us were the inspiration we needed to really take action. And I hope, inshallah, that tonight won't be any different, because that whole area of Sham, whether it's Syria, Palestine, that whole area which is known as Sham, we know that it's an amazing and blessed land that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said that the angels spread their wings over this area. So tonight we're still focusing on that part of the world that is in distress and that needs our help. But it's the most blessed land. It's Palestine itself. It's in the vicinity of Bayt al-Maqdis, which is the most, the most revered and holy land outside of the Haramain. So alhamdulillah, we're so blessed that we have someone who not only has immense knowledge about Palestine and that the importance of that area, but also someone who has done academic research on the life of Malcolm X, alhamdulillah. So who better to share with us pearls of wisdom on both the issue of Palestine, but also lessons from the life of Malcolm X on this topic of international solidarity, none other than Shaykh Omar Suleiman. So with that, I pass over to Shaykh Omar Suleiman, and inshallah, let's hopefully take inspiration from this and take action as well.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters in Canada, and to our wonderful host organization, Islamic Relief Canada. I'm grateful to be with you all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you in your Ramadan, bless you in all of your ibadat. I pray that you're finding great joy and great connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these moments of prayer and reflection in this very unique Ramadan. And subhanAllah, we've been given an opportunity to really connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a different way. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is allowing all of us to find that deep connection. And I want to start off from the very beginning to say that, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he talks about Ramadan, that all of the actions of the children of Adam are for him except for fasting. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, fasting is for me and I reward accordingly, because there's a specific sincere nature of fasting which forces us to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a very, very personal way. And there are things that we do removed from the sight of people when we fast, just by the very nature of our fasting. The fact that we maintain it even when people don't see us is a great is a great manifestation of a sincere connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and one that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam highly encourages through all of our acts of worship. But fasting in its very practice already has that embedded. And here we are, subhanAllah, and now we're quarantined, or at least, somewhat reduced in our social nature, and we're not in the masajid in the way that we usually are. We're not sitting in our large iftar parties or our fundraising banquets. And when we are called to do good, we really have to do that good without being prompted by anything but that remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all that comes with the entire package of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the good that we are called to do. And so we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity, and we pray that we are amongst those that make the most of this opportunity and do the best that we possibly can with all that we have. Doing the right thing despite the consequences or despite the lack of motivation is the hallmark of the life of Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz Malcolm X rahimahullah ta'ala, particularly as we know him in his development through Islam. And, I want to start from the point, and obviously this is about Palestine and this is about Palestine, and the very little connection that people are aware of with Malcolm and Palestine and what he did for Palestine. But I want to actually connect Malcolm's connection to Palestine to his connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Hajj journey that is so famous. And, it's important to remember that when Malcolm went to Hajj, he would only be in that state of orthodoxy and in that state of Islam, in that sense, for about 10 months afterwards, right? The majority of which he wasn't in the United States of America. He did come to Canada once, and, we don't know the full extent to where Malcolm would have shined, subhanAllah, but what he was able to achieve in those 10 months is remarkable, and certainly was building off of some of the great things that he did that were only purified after he became Muslim, but some of the great things that he did even prior to that, and the way that Malcolm was evolving as a human being. When Malcolm went to Hajj, he connected this idea of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the oneness of humanity. And being connected to the oneness of humanity now has certain implications. For one, what Malcolm recognizes in the equality of the human race, the oneness of humanity in the sight of one God, and the deep connection between Tawheed and the oneness of humanity, is this idea that doesn't just mean that you sit next to each other and you serve a bowl of rice to the person that's next to you. That doesn't just mean, if you're in Hajj, that you share your al-baked chicken. It doesn't just mean that you smile at the person that's next to you. It doesn't just mean donning the ihram garb only to let it go and then to go back to your ways. What it means is that person has just as much of a right to a dignified existence, to a chance in the hereafter, to guidance that would lead them to felicity in the hereafter as anybody else. You see, we understand the verse of the Quran, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, that we have honored the child of Adam, to have several implications. And there are dunyawi implications, there are worldly implications to that, and there are implications in the sense of the hereafter as well. The worldly implications of that is that every human being has the right to, safety, has the right to security, has the right to shelter, has the right to food and drink, has the right to be treated with dignity and respect by people, has the right to not be oppressed. We should advocate on the part of those that are oppressed, and we should be careful to not be oppressing towards them, either in an active sense or in a passive sense, by being silent in the oppression that is worked towards them. Those are the dunyawi, those are the worldly implications of that. And when Malcolm saw the equality of mankind in Hajj, that really guided his thinking for the next year of his life before he was tragically assassinated, but also, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, accepted as a shaheed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept him as such. What that means is that every human being has the right to be advocated for in an equal sense. And you cannot ignore anyone's suffering anymore either. So it's not just, this was beautiful because we all did Hajj together. It was, the world is ugly until everyone has the same right to the beauty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us, through the dignity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon all human beings. So that's something that's very important. The akhirah implication, the hereafter implication, is that everyone has a right to guidance. Everyone has a right to be shown the pathway to guidance and to have guidance demonstrated to them in a beautiful way. And no one should be neglected in that. And so Malcolm, for example, had a great frustration with what he saw as a prioritizing in the da'wah to people that were powerful. And of course, in the socio-cultural, racial context that Malcolm is talking about, that it was privileged white elites that da'wah would be targeted to. Why? Because if one of them became Muslim, then it would have greater benefit. And Malcolm, said no. You have to consider that everyone is worthy of da'wah. That's part of equality as well. That you give everyone a chance, and that you don't neglect people like him that might be completely relinquished in society because of their race and because of their circumstances, that everyone has that chance. A very similar, by the way, message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, abasa wa tawalla an ja'ahu al-a'ma. That when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned away from Abdullah ibn Maktoum radiyallahu ta'ala anhu because of the elites of Quraysh. Now, obviously, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had noble intentions, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was surrounded by the du'afa, by the weak and the oppressed of Mecca. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, teaching the ummah a lesson through that admonishment to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that those people's Islam is not more sacred and more beneficial than the Islam of the people like Abdullah ibn Maktoum radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So an equality in the facilitating of guidance as well. And Malcolm, rahimahullah, al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, he saw both of those things. And what that activated in him in a post-Hajj Malcolm, and of course, it's not just as simple as a post-Hajj Malcolm. There's a lot that goes into the generating of him. But what that activated in him was that he was deeply committed to anyone who he saw being wronged. Anyone who he saw being wronged. He took on very unpopular causes. And, according to many scholars, to the detriment of his own cause, right? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. became very unpopular in the United States when he took on the cause of Vietnam. And many African-American organizations like the NAACP condemned Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. because they saw that his advocating for the people of Vietnam was taking away from his cause at home. Malcolm was the first civil rights leader to actually speak about the Vietnamese, to speak about what was happening in Vietnam at the hands of the American government. And he didn't care. Malcolm, if you look at the assassination of Malcolm, the pictures of the assassination of Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, rahimahullah ta'ala, you see his head, and one of the people holding his head after he's been shot is a Japanese woman. And she was, advocating. She said that the only person that would take up the cause of those that were the victims of the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki was Malcolm X, was Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz. And he said, I'll take it on. And so this young activist named Yuri, who found that only Malcolm would be the one that would advocate for her and advocate for the people that were the victims of, again, violence and oppression, wreaked by the United States government. So what does this mean in terms of Muslim causes, right? What Malcolm showed is that you can be connected and you can be committed to humanity in a certain way. You could be committed to the ummah in a certain way, and you could be committed to your people in the sense of your qawm in a certain way, as the Prophet ﷺ was, and as Malcolm was to the plight of the unique plight of the African American here in the United States. Now, how does this all tie into Palestine, and what lesson do we learn from this, and what can we take from this today? Many people do not know that Malcolm actually went to Palestine, and of all places, he actually went to Gaza. And he went to Khan Yunis, which is a very prominent camp in Gaza. And this was in 1964, so we're still talking about before 1967. But Malcolm saw the formation of the occupation, and he saw where this was leading to, and that the displacement would only be perpetuated. And he also saw some of the tactics that were being used to silence the Palestinian cause, so that they would not be able to advocate for themselves, nor would others be able to advocate for them, and they would be cut off from others. And so Malcolm writes, he goes to Khan Yunis, and then he writes an essay on Zionism for the Egyptian Gazette. You can find it online, on September 17th, 1964. And he hits on a few themes. One of those themes is that Malcolm makes a plea to African nations not to be bribed into not advocating for the Palestinian people, right? Not to be bribed into not advocating for the Palestinian people. In fact, that is the centrality of the message of Malcolm in this article, is that do not let money buy your silence as a nation to where you don't speak. And he was talking about, the colonizing powers, right? Do not let the colonizing powers, do not let scheming European colonizing nations, Western nations, buy your silence, and so that you don't sufficiently advocate for an oppressed people. You know what it's like to be oppressed yourselves, and you cannot be silent in the face of the oppression of your brothers and sisters in Palestine. Malcolm talks about how historical conflicts go on and how as time would carry on, he says something very profound. He said that as time would go on, people would forget about the origins of occupation and displacement, and instead they would simply see that there are two parties that are at war with one another, and so they would just draw the conclusion that this is a historical conflict, a religious conflict, and then they would blame one side. They would blame one side for not doing enough to lift itself out of poverty and oppression. And the way that Malcolm described it, he said they clip the bird's wings and then blame it for not flying as high as they. And so we see this now in, decades later after the occupation. The Palestinian people live under horrific conditions that no other group of people are asked to live in under occupation. They live without citizenship. They live without the freedom of movement. They live blocked off, especially the people of Gaza, blockaded from the world. And they are treated, to many people that don't know the history of this occupation, the history of the great oppression of the Palestinian people, they're treated as an equal party to their occupier many times when discussions of negotiations come up, even though because of the disproportionate element of power in the occupation, you have unilateral moves that are constantly made to expand settlements and to make things more difficult on our Palestinian brothers and sisters and make life even more unbearable for them, and then blame them for their own misery and blame them for their own poverty and what they are going through. This is a very, very important lesson for us in this time, particularly in Ramadan. And inshallah ta'ala, when we come back, I'm going to go ahead and take a break, inshallah ta'ala. We'll talk about what we can learn from this, inshallah ta'ala, in particular in this time of COVID-19. So inshallah ta'ala, we'll go ahead and we will take a break, inshallah, and we'll come back and talk about the way that we can sort of translate that deep concern for our Palestinian brothers and sisters and what this means particularly in the COVID-19 era.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh Omar Suleiman, for that amazing insight into the life of Malcolm X and his connection with Gaza, with Palestine. Subhanallah, just a few of those kind of gems that were shared before the break, and which we've been so blessed to have, just to have that moment to reflect on some of the things that Malcolm X actually said and some of the lessons that we can take from that. And the idea of someone coming to Islam and finding the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and actually appreciating that the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should manifest and reflect in the oneness of humanity. And not only in terms of the equality of giving everyone in this dunya access to the deen and involving everyone and sharing this deen with everyone, but also ensuring that every single person has as much right to a dignified existence and a chance to live dignified in this dunya and also a chance to have success in the akhirah. I mean, that is exactly what tonight is about. There are children in Palestine who not only have been blockaded for years, but now are stuck in their homes. And we know that, if in previous times there were the widows and the orphan children who were reliant on these food distributions. We know now that even those who are day laborers, who are earning enough money to just buy bread to eat, now because of lockdown, they are also registering as vulnerable people to receive those food packs. Subhanallah. So now is the time to take action, inshallah. The web address is there. It's islamicrelief.ca/4Palestine. You can make that donation immediately and you can give your sadaqah and your zakat tonight. And this is the most simplest form of zakat. It's food going directly into the hands of those that need it the most. But instead of having to travel those thousands of miles and going and doing it yourself, Islamic Relief Canada tonight has the opportunity where you can go on the website or call the call center and speak to the staff and make that donation tonight. And inshallah, our teams on the ground in Gaza will be able to distribute that food on your behalf, inshallah. And what is also amazing, which I haven't mentioned up until now, is that all donations tonight are being matched by a donor, inshallah, which means every single thing you give tonight is going to have double the impact. So every food pack you give will be doubled so that not just one family, but 2 families will be fed for every food pack. But remember, if you don't donate, then it won't be doubled. So don't think that, oh, that donor is going to get the reward anyway. You are also going to get the reward for twice the impact. So my brothers and sisters, I am sure and I am confident and I am hopeful that inshallah, from those that are tuned in, from those that are watching tonight, there will be at least one family or one individual that has probably done their calculation, has worked out what their zakat is, or has put some sadaqah aside to search for the blessings of Laylatul Qadr in these last 10 nights of Ramadan. And I hope that inshallah we've seen and heard enough tonight to appreciate that our brothers and our sisters in Palestine, in Gaza right now, during lockdown where cases of COVID have started to emerge, that they are the most deserving of people that we can give our sadaqah and our zakat to. And if you are that special donor that's been blessed to be able to give a $10,000 donation, know that tonight that $10,000 is going to be doubled to $20,000 inshallah. Which means not only 100 families, that's 600 people, not only are they going to be fed, but an additional 100 families, an additional 600 people will also be fed. So with your $10,000 donation, you can be feeding and you will be responsible and you will have the reward, and the angels will write that you have fed over 1,200 people, subhanallah. Imagine 1,200 people bearing witness for you to say that when we were going through calamity, when the world was facing challenges, this brother, this sister, this family stood up and they stood with us, and they showed their solidarity with their brothers and sisters, and they didn't just use the words brother and sister, but they actually meant it by taking action. Similarly, if you have the ability to give $5,000, again, that will be matched by our donor, inshallah, our match funder tonight, to $10,000. So the initial 50 families that you will be feeding will be doubled to 100 families. And again, over 600 people will be fed with that donation. So the time is now, my brothers and sisters. The website is there. It's islamicrelief.ca/4Palestine, or you can call the staff at Islamic Relief Canada and make the donation. The phone number is on the screen. So please maximize from that opportunity. Again, if you have $1,000, that's enough to feed 10 families. And again, that will be doubled. So it won't just be 10, it'll be 20 families. And you will have the reward of not feeding 10, but you'll have the reward for feeding 20 families, inshallah. And again, those children who are gathered around their mothers, sat there now as we near the time of iftar. It's probably the time of iftar in Palestine right now. As we near that moment, they will be looking to their parents and they will be saying, Ya mother, or father, whoever they are with, or guardian, or auntie, whoever they live with. They will be saying, where is our food? What shall we eat? And in these moments, you will be able to reach out and say, I've got you. We are going to take care of you. My family is going to look after your family, because you are my family, because we are one family and you are my brothers and my sisters. So that $1,000 that you can give tonight will be doubled to $2,000, and inshallah will be 20 families will be fed. And similarly, if you can't give that much, but you would definitely want to give something and help as many families as possible tonight, then just $500 can feed, inshallah, 5 families. And again, don't forget, It's not just 5 families. You don't just get the reward for 5 families. You get the reward for 10 families because it will be matched and it will be doubled. And now I know we all want to hear the rest of Shaykh Omar Suleiman's keynote speech. So we'll wrap this up. But I want to finish by saying that if every single person that's watching right now, whether you're watching it live right now or you're watching it at a later date on the website or on whichever channel that you're watching this on, if all of you come together, either give it yourself or as a collective, as a family, as a group of friends, come together and just donate $100. That is enough to feed a family for an entire month. Imagine and think about all the times that you've gone to your favorite restaurants and you've ordered food, how much you've spent on one meal with you and your family or your friends. That's just one meal. But for $100, you will feed a family every single day, inshallah, twice a day at least, for over a month. And I say over a month, as I said, they'll make this food pack last. And this is an essential and it's the most basic thing that we can do for our brothers and our sisters, inshallah. So Jazakallah khair to everyone who's donated so far. For everyone that's gone on the website, again, it's islamicrelief.ca/4Palestine. And for every single person that's called the donation hotline, which is on the screen, may Allah accept your donation, inshallah. May Allah bless you. May Allah reward you with an abundance. May Allah give you tenfold, manyfold in this dunya. And ultimately, may He make us amongst the successful. And may Allah allow the people that we serve tonight to bear witness for us on the day that we need it the most, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Let's go back and hear from Shaykh Omar Suleiman again and hear the rest of his speech.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome back. Inshallah ta'ala, I just wanted to continue where I left off. Going back to that image of Hajj where Malcolm, rahimahullah ta'ala, Hajj Malik al-Shabazz sees where he sees the Palestinian people, where he sees the people of Pakistan, where he sees the people of Ethiopia, where he sees everyone all together. What does this mean for us right now in the COVID-19 era in particular? Advocating for the Palestinians is one thing. Making dua for them is also very important. And for all of those oppressed and forgotten people. And I want to applaud Islamic Relief for continuing to deliver aid despite all of the restrictions and all of the difficulties, being there for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. But I want to talk about what this means right now, particularly in the COVID-19 era. It is very easy for us in times of ease to prioritize our joy over the hardship of others. What do I mean by that? A lot of times we conveniently block out some of the horrible things that are happening in the world, and the more distant they become from us, the easier it becomes for us to block them out and to pretend like those things don't exist. And in pretending like those things don't exist, we give ourselves a convenient sense of comfort and joy. We're able to shut off the screen when we want to. We're able to enjoy our lives and just say that, you know what, we're okay. And the Prophet ﷺ teaches us never to turn away from our brothers and sisters because we're in a time of ease. You cannot turn away from them when you're in a time of ease. Now, we've been guilty many times of prioritizing our ease over their hardship. And relatively speaking, we're still in ease and they're still in hardship, right? COVID-19 did not strike everyone the same way. But what I want to talk about today is not prioritizing our hurt over their hurt. I believe strongly in domestic charity. I believe strongly in supporting the indigenous peoples. I believe strongly in advocating for justice at home. I believe strongly in making sure that your neighbor is well fed. What I don't believe is that means that it has to be to the detriment of your brothers and sisters that are physically distant from you. And one thing that can happen in an era like this one is that we could come to this place of, you know what, we're hurting, they're hurting, and right now we just need to, we need to make sure that we just take care of ourselves. We need to make sure that we only open our own masajid, we only take care of our own selves, and we'll get to them later. We have to remember that people that were vulnerable before this era are only going to be made more vulnerable now. Gaza in particular has some of the worst poverty in the world. It is blockaded, they have hunger, and the regular infractions of the occupation to, for example, just limit, subhanAllah, you think about this, limiting the range in which they can fish, right? I mean, not only are they blockaded, but it means something significant to them when it's reduced from 11 miles to 5 miles, and that's the only area in which they can fish, right? And otherwise they have to worry about being killed even as they try to collect their fish. Hunger in Gaza is only going to get worse. Access to clean water is only going to get worse. The infractions of the occupation without accountability is only going to get worse. All of these things are only going to get worse for our brothers and sisters. When it comes to hunger in particular, the United Nations is estimating that the population of people who suffer from hunger in the world is going to double, at least double, as a result of this. So we're talking about, over 250 million people in the world that are hungry. How many of those people are going to be in Gaza? What percentage of those are going to be in Palestine? It's disproportionate, and we can't ignore them. We have to make sure that we give it our all, that we move forward for them. And subhanAllah, you have to understand that sometimes continuing aid is a great form of solidarity as well, because it tells the Palestinian people, it tells the Syrian people, it tells the people of Yemen, it tells the people in Somalia, it tells the Rohingya, it tells whoever, it tells those people that we have not forgotten about you. That just as we did not prioritize our joy and our comfort over your hardship, we're not going to prioritize our hardship over your hardship, because whatever hardship we face as a result of this, it is not the same. Can you imagine what it's like to catch a contagious disease in Gaza, where hospitals have been bombarded, the lack of resources, the lack of movement, the lack of ability to be heard, to be treated? How many people die silently because of the abhorrent, inhumane conditions that they're already in? And subhanAllah, you think about something like COVID-19 spreading in a place like Gaza, spreading in a place like Palestine. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. And the implications of that are devastating. And so I want to applaud Islamic Relief once again for being an organization that is at the front lines, that continues to serve those populations, that continues to be there for people and wherever they are. And personally, alhamdulillah, I've been to Canada with Islamic Relief Canada multiple times. I value the work that you do. I am so touched, subhanAllah, every time I've attended a banquet with IR Canada or just follow the different things. I'm so touched by the outpouring of love and support that's come from our brothers and sisters in Canada for those distressed populations around the world, and the competency and the ihsan, the excellence that Islamic Relief Canada puts into delivering that aid with love and in the same spirit of care as it's given in Canada to our brothers and sisters in Palestine or wherever it is it's going. Malcolm was an example of a man who connected his ibadah to his khidmah, his worship to his service, who connected every cause of justice, who did not abandon any group of people when he saw their devastation. And every time we become exposed to a group of people that are suffering, that becomes a hujjah, that becomes a claim that is against us now. You cannot claim that you're unaware. I cannot claim that I'm unaware. We bear the burden of knowledge, of knowing that our brothers and sisters are in despair, and we have to do our best to support them, inshallah ta'ala. And so I want to ask you in these blessed nights of Ramadan to be there for our brothers and sisters in Palestine, the way that our brother Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz rahimahullah ta'ala was there for them, the way that our Prophet ﷺ taught each and every single one of us to be there for them, to support Islamic Relief Canada in its noble mission to continue to support our brothers and sisters wherever they are. Jazakumullahu khairan, and inshallah ta'ala, I pray that you continue to engage the rest of this program, listen very carefully to what's being done, and be a part of the solution, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Thank you all once again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
SubhanAllah, every single time you hear Shaykh Omar Suleiman speak, there is so much to take away from it. And tonight has been no different. I guess the parting thought that I'd like to leave tonight with is that as we face our challenges, as this COVID pandemic takes a grip on our communities here in Canada and of course across the globe, we cannot afford and we shouldn't allow our hurt and our struggle to overshadow and overpower the struggle of our brothers and our sisters around the world. And again, I remind you that tonight, from the comfort of your home, in these blessed few moments before the time of Maghrib, before the time of Iftar, in this one of the last 10 nights of Ramadan, where the Prophet ﷺ told us to look for Laylatul Qadr, the night that is better than 1,000 months. In this blessed moment, imagine the reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for us and that will be waiting for us if we reach out now, knowing the plight of our brothers and sisters and saying, we will not ignore you, we will not leave you to fend for yourself. As we have plenty for ourselves to eat, we will share that with you, and we will ensure that you and your family, and to the widows and the mothers in Palestine, that your children will also eat tonight. As I put food in front of my children, I will be putting food in front of your children as well, because you are my sister. So please visit the website islamicrelief.ca/4Palestine, call the donation hotline and give your sadaqah and your zakat, inshallah. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts everyone's efforts, that Allah, the angels that have recorded your action tonight, bear witness for you, and ultimately the people that we serve bear witness for you. And I hope and I pray that whatever you give tonight is the final weight that is needed to drop the right hand side of your scales on the day of judgment, inshallah, and be your pass into Jannatul Firdaus. Jazakallah khair for joining us tonight. It's been a truly inspirational evening, not only in terms of the lessons and the wisdom of Shaykh Omar Suleiman, but also seeing the response of our community, never letting us down and always being here to support those that we serve and to support those that need it the most. Jazakallah khair. May Allah accept your qiyam, your siyam. May Allah allow us to benefit and see the end of Ramadan and get the most out of it and leave it better than we entered it, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.